As bold as lions. As bold as lions.
As bold as lions.
As bold as lions.
You're listening to the As Bold as Lions podcast.
Well, hello and welcome to another episode of the As Bold as Lions podcast. Got an all new episode and a new series that we're jumping into, which I'm excited about. As I'm recording this, it's just a nice sunny day and able to just look out my window and see the few clouds in the sky, the sun's shining, the grass is green. Thinking about how in just a few weeks it'll be a lot different. It'll start to get cooler, but enjoying these last few glimpses of summer, and hope you're doing well wherever you are at, whatever things are looking like around you as you listen to this. Before I dive into kind of our main content today, I just wanted to let folks know that there's this next 4 weeks kind of coming up for a series that we're doing, and then that'll end in the first week of October. After that, in October, I'm just taking a little break, hitting pause on the podcast. I used to do this thing when I'd write a blog every week, and I'd come to the month of October, and for some reason, I don't know, it just felt like a natural time to hit a pause button, and I'd do what I'd call throwback month, and I just kind of use some recycled blogs to post. I'm not really sure how to do that with the podcast. You could throw up old podcasts, or you could just, I guess I could have done that with the blog too, just say, hey, go back and look at this. But it was something to just kind of keep generating something out there, but not have to go back and rewrite or write a new blog. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I'm messing myself all up here. But anyway, October is just kind of a break from the podcast for a few weeks, just to kind of recenter, focus on a few other things, and then hit the ground running through the rest of the year. Kind of shift into Christmas season for a little bit there. So I'm thinking through what some episodes surrounding Christmas, and maybe you're like, yay, Christmas. Maybe you're not even, Christmas isn't even on your radar yet, but like it or not, it's going to be here quick. And then the new year, and man, oh man, time is just flying. So just saying that just to let you know where we're headed. And as always, just to say, hey, can you pray for me, my family, As Bold as Lions, the music I'm doing, all that kind of stuff, if you think of it. Because, that guides me. I know that the Lord answers those prayers, and I know that He's kind of charting this whole thing out in front of me, even before I know where it's headed next. And many of you have reached out to say, hey, we're doing that. And I appreciate that. I really do, that you would, when you think of me or think of this whole thing that we do, that you'd pray for it. So that all being said, the next 4 weeks, as you saw the title, perhaps the title of the series, it's called Raising the Standard. And I don't want to alienate 50% of my audience here, but I know this is heavily geared toward a certain percentage of my audience, and that would be guys, men, Christian men. But ladies, it's also good content, hopefully, for you as you think about the men in your life, or perhaps raising, you have sons, you have a father, you have brothers, whatever, people that you can kind of be thinking about as you hear these podcasts, as you hear these episodes. I hope it's not something where people are like, wow, none of this applies to me, so I'm going to just kind of skip for the next few weeks. Not at all. Like this is, I feel strongly to go into this content because I think we need to continue doing exactly what this series is titled, raise the standard of character, of integrity, of spiritual depth and maturity. And for guys, like, we're called to take this mantle and this role of leadership, and we fail a lot. You know, I'm not here to male bash, but I guess I can do that a little bit because I am one. Is to say we get this wrong a lot, especially within the church and stuff. So over the past few years, I've written some blogs, done some podcasts on dating, marriage, family, home, some of those things. But with a lot of those teachings, this topic specifically addressed to men is something that I hadn't done, even though there's been some times within those other things that I've done that have been able to bring in that discussion a little bit. But it seems, as a man, the most obvious and natural progression of thought that I would have of all this is from a male perspective. And I won't say that's always the case. Definitely try to bounce ideas off my wife, get her viewpoint on things, and that's helpful for me. It really is, because I'm not a woman, and she has a completely different wiring and just makeup to her, of where if I'm coming at a certain issue, this is how I look at it from my own kind of makeup. And to see her kind of look at it from a different perspective is like, wow, you know, I'm glad I asked, because I wasn't aware of that. So that's totally an awesome thing. And I love that the Lord gives us the ability to do that as we, especially in marriage, as we have two people that are uniquely designed and hopefully kind of filling in and complementing each other where one has a strength and one has a weakness. There's some ability there to kind of help one another out. So as I bring this series in, this full disclosure, this was something that I did do a blog series of the same title previously, and this was back in 2020. I was looking at the dates, and this was actually early 2020, so it was before COVID hit, before we were really like locked down and going through that whole experience. So those first few moments of 2020 where life was still normal and we still kind of we didn't know what was headed. Now looking back, we know everything that kind of we went through, but kind of an idyllic time there, those last few weeks and months before the whole world changed. Enough about that. You can go back and listen to my podcast episode on COVID here a few weeks ago, the post-COVID church, just a plug for that. Anywho, as I said, just haven't done something specifically for men in the library of As Bold as Lions up to that time. And I felt compelled to then and do again, just to camp out a few weeks, spend some weeks talking to men. And so this raising the standard idea, it's a call to burden our hearts with something more, something beyond just the day-to-day that we face, the day-to-day grind, the schedule, the routines, the things that men face, like to kind of lift our eyes a little bit off of just what's right in front of us. And I think men, whether I was writing this from 2020 or talking about it current day, 2023, as you hear this, men are repeatedly questioning themselves. This is Christian men. Questioning themselves, questioning their own value, their worth, and their legacy. And they're wondering whether or not they will measure up. And this is kind of an introductory episode to what comes next. There'll be a little bit more point by point as we go into the next few episodes, and you'll kind of see the flow of thought here as we go. But I want to kind of cast the vision for what we're talking about, and just tell us once again, this overarching call to Christ is key. It's what we're after. And as we go through various stages of life as men, we keep coming back to that. Like, that's still the highest pinnacle of what we're after. Whether I'm talking to a young man who's just high school, college age, to, a young to middle-aged, professional man who's married, perhaps with kids, to a man who's in those closer to end of years, end of life ages, that it kind of gets segmented out a little bit that way. But we all have some of the same struggles. We all have some of the same, just things that we're dealing with, even throughout each of those stages. I can say that as kind of this middle-aged guy now who can say, these are some of the things I see ahead of me, and these are some of the things I see behind me. And there's a lot of overlap. Kind of I could say maybe a soundtrack type of thing for this. I don't know how to put it, but a song that I'd say, if you get a chance, and I'll link it into at least the show notes for this episode. You could certainly just go on YouTube, but a song a few years back, and it's called 100 Years, and the band is called Five for Fighting. I think you got it from a hockey term, actually, 5 minutes for fighting. It's because it's just like a solo guy, but he named himself a band name. Anyway, off the point. But he has this song called 100 Years. He's kind of this piano-based guy, super talented, not a Christian artist, at least not that I'm aware of. He's a secular guy, but he writes with a lot of depth. He writes these kind of songs that just make you think in a lot of ways, and they're sappy sometimes. Like, I'm a sucker for a song that just can kind of pull at the heartstrings. And this 100 Years it portrays a man's life. It's just so beautifully written, how he kind of takes a story and just says, "Hey, I'm this stage. I'm dealing with this," and then on to the next thing, and he just kind of layers it, and then he brings you all the way to the end of this person's life. It starts with the teenage years, and it says, "I'm 15 for a moment, caught in between 10 and 20. I'm 15 for a moment." And then he goes on to being in love and married and expecting kids. The lyrics say, "I'm 33 for a moment. I'm still the man, but you see, I'm a they, a kid on the way, a family on my mind." When he's saying a they, he means that's not a pronoun thing, but when you talk about a man and his wife and their family, you're like the Johnsons, that kind of a thing. I'm a they. I'm a man now with a family and kids. And so it just moves kind of effortlessly from each of these stages, going on through it, and just each milestone has kind of these things that are attached to it. And as I said, he eventually comes to the end of the life, and it says he's 99, and this is kind of where he's looking back at everything. "I'm 99 for a moment, and dying for just another moment, and I'm just dreaming, counting the ways to where you are." Wants to go back. He has this desire to, if I could go back, if I could do this, if I could, probably talking to his wife, his significant other, I would go back and be with you and relive some of these things that we cherish, that we remember. And so this series, as I was writing this blog, and this was 2020, this song, 100 Years, was just kind of in the background. I remember as I was writing it and just bringing it into this podcast again of kind of direction a little bit of where to go with all of this content. And there's so much to tackle here. There's so much that even just a series that just says this is for men, like, wow, that's you just scratch the surface, you feel like. But the song and just the arc of the content, the whole thing needs to be bathed in wisdom and discernment in each phase of our lives. In the younger years, we're just trying to figure things out, and we're trying to navigate the path and figure out where we're going to go. As we start to grow older, we settle down, we have the family, we become the they, and we're in this stage between just still needing that wisdom, where we're not just starting out anymore, but we're not at the finish line either, and navigating that kind of in between of where we're at. And then as we move into the graying years, the golden years, the senior years of our lives, we look at things through the rear view mirror, and we consider, like, man, what did I accomplish? What did I do? Was everything worth it? Would I go back and change anything if I could? And, most of us certainly will have some regrets. I think even at 45, I can say there's regrets that I can see right now. But are we able to see God's goodness and his grace despite all of that, through all of that? Turning to the Bible, I want to just take the words of a band today for our direction. But the Bible has a lot to say about this as well. And it's going to be a constant as we go throughout this series. I want to read from Proverbs. This is Proverbs 3. And really in Proverbs, there's a lot of this instruction from seemingly an older man, a wiser man, to a younger man. And Proverbs 3 verses 1 through 12, this is a little bit longer, but I just want to set the scene here with this. It says, "My son, do not forget my teaching, but let your heart keep my commandments. For length of days and years of life and peace they will add to you. Let not steadfast love and faithfulness forsake you. Bind them around your neck. Write them on the tablet of your heart. So you will find favor and good success in the sight of God and man. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths. Be not wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and turn away from evil. It will be healing to your flesh and refreshment to your bones. Honor the Lord with your wealth and with the first fruits of all your produce. Then your barns will be filled with plenty, and your vats will be bursting with wine. My son, do not despise the Lord's discipline, or be weary of his reproof. For as the Lord reproves him whom he loves, as a father the son in whom he delights. For the Lord reproves him whom he loves, as a father the son in whom he delights." A lot of instruction there. A lot of just teaching to the son, to the younger one, to say, keep the commands. It's going to go well for you if you do these things. Keep love, keep faithfulness around you. Write them on the tablet of your heart. You'll find favor with God and with man. And then that famous verse that just says, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all of your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your paths straight. He will make straight your paths. I did a series probably a couple of years ago on favorite verses of the Bible. And that Proverbs passage, right, 3, 5, and 6 is right there, is one that I did. And then it goes on to just say, not being wise in your own eyes. A younger, immature man can have a lot of pride and a lot of just, I've got life figured out. No, you don't. No, you don't. Fear the Lord, turn away from evil. And just all the, if you read this, and I encourage you to maybe bookmark Proverbs 3, and especially verses 1 through 12, it's promises. It's saying, if you do all this stuff, if you're a young man and you're just starting out and you're like, I've got no clue, I'm straight out of high school or college, or I'm just getting married, or I'm starting a family, you need godly wisdom and instruction. And kind of jumping the gun here, because we're going to go more specifically to various age groups, but man, to just take that to heart, and just to be like, to take on wisdom, to take on love and faithfulness, to bind the words of Scripture around our hearts, and to not despise the Lord's discipline when God corrects us, when God reproves us, when He's kind of pruning away and chipping away at things, because they need to be chipped away at, because there's character issues, or there's things that we need to let go of. Is to not fear that, to not run from that, but to say, God, continue to bring that, investigate my heart. Last podcast, I keep plugging the stuff, but talking about the blind spots that we have in our faith. It's, again, like allowing the Lord to show us those things and reveal those things. I'm finding with each passing day, in the weeks and the months and the years, real legacy, real accomplishments, real purpose. There's nothing that this world offers. There's nothing that I can somehow attain that's going to compare to what I have in Jesus Christ. And that's all the accolades, all the things I could get, all the materialism, the nice house, the car, the clothes, the food, the dining out, the going to this thing or that thing, the being recognized as whatever. None of it compares to having Jesus Christ in knowing Him as my personal Lord and Savior. None of it. And I have my own family. I have my own 5 kids, 4 of which are boys, my 4 sons. I want them to succeed and to thrive. And that's heavy on my heart at times. But I want them to have godly success. And like I said, I'm in the stage where I am a they as in the Johnsons, a family comprised of mom and dad and 5 kids. And I'm in the stage of we're doing life all together. The 7 of us going here or there, going to church, them going to school, raising kids, pointing them to Christ, taking them along when I'm doing ministry or whatever, supporting them in what they're doing and the things they're kind of testing out to see if they like this or like that, what they're good at, maybe finding their strengths, maybe finding the things they're not great at, and just continuing to bring Christ in the middle of all that and allowing Him to lead. I'm in that stage of life right now. Won't always be. I mean, I'll be at a point where hopefully, Lord willing, there's grandkids and you get to continue to kind of be part of that process. But you're in a different phase. But as I'm in this right now, I want my boys to do well, but I want them to keep God first and to love Him and to keep their faith intact through whatever they face. For me, that's the biggest thing. So I step back, and this Raising the Standard series, I say, what is the point of all this? Why even go here for a few weeks? I have to ask, what's the cost if we don't raise the standard? Man, what is the cost if we don't do some of these things? There are some statistics, and as I think about the blog I did, these were some things that I was looking at. that I included, but statistics showing that teenagers who grow up in church do not necessarily have a firm grasp on the gospel, and they often lose their faith shortly after college. There's an article calling this out. It says, "Are young people really leaving Christianity?" Some studies that they had been doing. I've heard more recently a statistic that says up to 50% of kids leaving the church, youth group going on to college, up to 50%, 50, will leave the faith. Some of them will come back at some point. This was a book that the name escapes me right now, but it was a certain percentage, maybe a third, that would come back like in their 20s to 30s. But to have that experience, to be in the Word, in church, in youth group, whatever, and then half of those kids to walk away, that's a staggering number. I think it's a book called Sticky Faith. I'm not sure about that. I shouldn't even say for sure, but it was a book that we're going through some people in our church for student ministry. Anyway, men in the career stage, child rearing, family stage are also missing the mark by not setting a better example. This was a quote, a 2001 Congregational Life survey that's now getting quite dated. But it revealed that an average American congregation is roughly 61% female and 39% male. Wow. But if men take the lead, the families are 90% more likely to attend church if the man of the household attends. That was an article said, where are all the men, exploring the gender gap in church? Just pointing out, hey, women are the ones getting their families up into church and making sure the kids are there. Where are the men at? Guys, where are we at? But if the men go, like, they're 90% more likely. If the men are getting up and saying, look, we got to go to church. Hey, we're doing this. It's important. That makes a huge difference. And I think it makes a huge difference for those kids then to see their dad sitting in the pews, sitting in the church, worshiping, taking a lead. Because if you're not there, Dad, if you're not there, husbands, fathers, there's a good chance your kids won't be there someday when they're that age to decide whether or not they want to go to church. And good chance that church and Christianity in general may not be that important to them. So we have to count the cost. We need wisdom and life experience of men who have gone before us, talking about those graying years, knowing that they have much to pass along and pass down to us, the next generation. The Bible has truth to guide us here. In that, Proverbs 20:20, the glory of young men is their strength, but the splendor of old men is their gray hair. I love that verse. Titus 2, verse 2, older men are to be sober-minded, dignified, self-controlled, sound in faith, in love, and in steadfastness. Some charges to our older men. We need you so much. So as you can tell, the path of the series is going to be sequential, kind of down to each of these various life stages. First, I want to, as we start up again next time, address young men, those trying to figure out life and where they're headed within the context of living a life in Christ, Him being our compass. Then we're going to switch gears and go on to men in the career and family stage. Again, that's the stage I'm in right now. And the Lord knows I need as much advice as I can give. So that's stuff for myself, very much. And, next week is a lot for myself as well, as I'm raising kids in that, young men status. And finally, a stage that I haven't gotten to yet, but I appreciate those who are there, those in the retirement years, those who are in those graying years. The song I mentioned, 100 Years, it says, the sun is getting high, but suddenly you're wise. That's a lyric from that song. And I love that because it's like the sun is getting high on your life. We've done a lot of living, but you're getting wise, or suddenly you're wise. And that's just something about men that I think you get to this point where you have all this knowledge, you have all this advice readily there and at your fingertips. And we crave it. Us younger men, we crave it. We need it. So guys and gals, I've kind of said a lot here in this first introductory episode, but I trust that these podcasts are going to be something that you can share. And if you're maybe not initially impacted, there's somebody else who would be. If you're thinking of a young man that needs to tune in next time, send this to them. If you're thinking of somebody else in your life, family member, whatever, just share it with them. I'm not going to bash guys. The culture does that enough. More so, it's just encouraging us to step up and take kind of the role that has always been ours to have as the leaders in our homes. And as we trust the Lord, as we depend on Him more, He's going to help us lead and guide others. And this is a holy calling, but it's the ultimate calling for men, as we are husbands and fathers, to lead our homes well, to follow after Christ, to be men who raise the standard like David, who desired to know and follow the heart of God, who in Acts 13:22, speaking of David, says he raised up David to be their king, of whom he testified and said, I have found in David, the son of Jesse, a man after my heart, who will do all my will. So this is my invitation to you all, especially men, young men, old men alike, to say, will you join me over these next few weeks? Will you be with me as we dive in? We talk about some things that each of these subsets face, and consider how we are leading well in whatever phase we're in. To again look at that song and just say, if that was written from a Christian perspective, how am I at 15 and at 33 and at 40 and whatever, and all the way to 99? How am I charting my course in the Lord, for His glory, for His fame? That's what I'm about. That's what I want my kids to be about. I want my legacy, if there's anything said about me and passed down, that it would just be pointing back to Jesus, saying He loved Jesus. He wanted others to know about Jesus. He spent His life for that. And I feel like that's where we need to be, especially in these times where we have a lack of strong leadership all around us. I talk about the church all day long, but even in the government and the just institutions everywhere, just a lack of leadership, a lack of just strong men with character and integrity, and those qualities that certainly we need to have as Christians. It's hard to expect the rest of the world sometimes to have those things, but I think we see a deficit because we're not living it out like we should. And sometimes men, we've abdicated that role, and other things have stepped in and taken it. And that's why we're seeing the world in the shape that it is now. Guys, this is meant to encourage us. This is meant to rally us. This is meant to say, hey, keep going. If you are a man who's leading your family well, if you're bringing them to church, if you're in the Word, if you're praying together, if you're, cheering your kids on, being in their corner, wanting to pass on the legacy to them, then this is just all to just continue to pour into you. If you're a man who's saying, I need direction, I need some help with this, I want to, find the right footing, and, this is for you as well. And if you're a man who's saying, I'm in a stage of life now where I'm not sure what my what my value is. I'm past the child rearing stage. I'm definitely past the stage of what direction in life do I go. I'm all the way on the other end of that. Where's my value? Where's my worth? This is for you as well. So share this, pass it along, encourage the men in your life to give it a listen. I pray that it won't be something that's just a waste of their time, and then just keep coming back, because that is what As Bold as Lions is all about. Whether you're a guy or a gal, that there's stuff for you here to help you as you pursue Christ. Going to close with Ephesians 5:15 through 17. Be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity, because the days are evil. Therefore, do not be foolish, but understand what the Lord's will is. We will see you next time. Take care. God bless.
Hey guys, this is Derek Charles Johnson. You have been listening to the As Bold as Lions podcast. I am a blogger, a songwriter, an artist. And if you've been encouraged by this podcast, please go ahead and subscribe and share, and head over to DerekCharlesJohnson.com for more encouraging content. God bless.